there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. Hey, this one says retail construction. This is actually before I merged all the magazines. This is from July, August 2008 with LL Bean on the cover. Mr. Sean Salter, Director of Visual and Store Design. Wow, 15 years ago, but still looked awesome. Wow. I always like looking, I've been breaking out some of the, the older issues that I had. And it's really cool to see what was going on, in that time of, the year. And here I am at the NHRA, where am I here? Oh, I'm blocking it. The NHRA Museum in San Diego. Oh, what a cool place that was. Don Garlett's, Hot Rod was in there, all these old cars. That was a really cool place to check out. Should be on your bucket list if you go out to SoCal. Very, very cool place. Anyway, thanks, Sean, for being on the cover. That's what it used to look like. Well, we're digital now. Had about 29 million people hit the website last year, consuming content, reading the magazine, checking out all the stuff, and we're continuing on. It's been an amazing journey from print to digital. So for all you out there that have been visiting the site, thank you so much. Hope everybody had a great Easter weekend. We're a week, since that, but, I went out to see my mom, went out for her 83rd birthday, my sister and I, and she only has so many birthdays left. So we made a pact that we go out every year, and she's up in Cave Creek, which is north of Scottsdale in the foothills. Cave Creek is a biker's town. If you've never heard of it before, a very, very cool place. Weather was beautiful, not cloud in the sky, 85 degrees. I think Monday when I left, it was 95. I mean, just absolutely beautiful. No humidity. They say the dry heat. I'll take the dry heat over humidity any day down here in the ATL. But right now we're living in pollen and it's about 85, not cloud in the sky here. Beautiful. May's a beautiful month, April, May, and then all of a sudden in June, boom, God flicks the switch and boom, here comes the humidity and the heat. So I'll take 115 in Scottsdale or Cave Creek in the summer than 95 and 98% humidity in the ATL. I just would. I'd rather be in the dry heat than the wet, muggy heat. So at least I'm up by the water. So, I get a little relief, I went and got 40 bags of mulch yesterday. And the guys at Home Depot, they were working really hard. It was $2 a bag. They had the sale going on. So all the Atlantans were all trying to get our yards looking good. And man, they had a crew of about 8 guys out there. And I looked at the guy and go, dude, man, how long have you been here? And I got there at about 1:30. He's like, I've been here since early this morning. And we've been lifting a lot of bags, man. I mean, look at all these empty pallets. I was like, wow. I goes, yeah, I got 15 minutes and I am beat. So Home Depot guys that were outside in the drive-through, putting bags of mulch and dirt and all that stuff yesterday, kudos to you. You're working your tail off, and you deserve a raise because you guys were busting tail because everybody and their mother was buying that stuff. So, but I had to come home. I didn't have any help. I had to move all those 40 bags myself. That was the thing, my wife's like, okay, have fun. I'll see you. I got to go look at a site. So anyway, great weekend. Listen, March Madness is over. Easter's over. It's lacrosse season, DU. We went on the road. We beat Towson on Thursday, 12-10, and then we came from behind to beat St. John's in league play. And there's about 2 or 3 games left, and then we go into the tournament. And if we win the Big East, we'll get in the big dance in May. And our Coach Tierney, 42 years coach, and he's retiring, so it'd be the swan song for him to retire with a national championship, number 8. And he'll be going into the College Hall of Fame for lacrosse. And he's already had the stadium at the USA Lacrosse facility that's in Maryland named after him. So Coach T, we're wishing the boys the best of luck to continue on your winning ways. I think they're number 12 or number 15 ranked. But we got a couple more games, and then the Big East. We got to win the tournament to get the bid. That's the bottom line. You win the tour, you win your league, you get an automatic bid. Only 16 teams get in there. So we're hoping they'll be able to pull it out. So with that said, go Pios. So anyway, today I have a gentleman. He used to be, I'm from Philly, so we always like guys with brotherly love. His name is Fabio Madanat. Madanat. Did I get it right?
That is it.
Okay, he's a national accounts executive for Stratus, and they're a jack of all trades, basically a branding company, but they do all sorts of stuff. And Fabio was living up to Philly, and he decided to hightail it down from the Northeast and move to the great Sunshine State of Florida. So, Fabio, say hello to our audience out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Yeah, hello, y'all. How's it going? I'll throw a little Philly flair in that as well. So
yeah, and how do we say water? We say water. Yeah, water. Wader. Water.
Exactly.
Yeah, we use guys, and that's the way it goes. We need some water. So anyway, the reason why I had Fabio on was because there's I talk to so many clients. They could be architects and but everybody's rebranding themselves. They're just freshening things up, and that's what these guys do. So and he's a national account guy, so he's got a good buzz on what's going on, and he's been around forever. I knew him when he was a couple other firms, and through mergers and acquisitions, names change, but the faces don't. We just get less hair and a little grayer,
Exactly.
So but Bobby, the way that this works is it's going to go in three parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, play any sports, kid, brothers, sisters, where you went to school, how you ended up where you are today. And then we'll talk about the last 3 years, lessons learned of the roller coaster that we've all gone through, and we're still standing. And then you'll leave you one positive thought or phrase in your contact info, and then we'll sign off. So with that said, Fabio, tell us your story.
No, I love it. Well, thank you, David. Thank you for the opportunity. And I know, being a Philly fan, we do definitely have to applaud today's signing of Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
For another 5 years, so it's a great thing. And start off with that.
I got my family. We used to own the Philadelphia Eagles. My uncle was Leonard Toes. You know that, don't you?
Get out of here! No, I did not.
Okay, real short, and I'll let you get back to your story. My grandmother's sister married Leonard Toes. He had a trucking company called Toes Trucking. That's how he bought the Philadelphia Eagles. And at the time, I was from Pottstown, which is about 45 minutes west of Philadelphia, just west of Valley Forge. And on Friday nights when I grew up, they had this team called the Pottstown Firebirds. They were like the farm team, before colleges, and that whole thing. They were like the farm team. They had this guy, the quarterback his name was King Cochran. Wow. So anyway, Friday night, you go to the Pottstown Firebirds games. And then on Sundays, as I was growing up, we used to go and sit up in the owner's box. So my uncle, he wasn't a good gambler, lost a lot, Anyway, the bottom line is I had to sell the team to my cousin Susie. And in 1981 was my first year at the University of Denver, and the Eagles came out to play the Broncos the year that they got John Elway. And anyway, my cousin Susie was the first female GM in the NFL. And so she broke that glass ceiling, and she was the owner. And she held the team, and then she sold the team to the current owners. That team, I forget what she sold it for. It was a lot of money at the time, but now what that team is worth, I mean, so. But anyway, my uncle Leonard, he was the best. And my cousin Marnie, she lives up in Charlotte, and she's very tight with the Ronald McDonald House, and she prints these NFL books for every team that's in the NFL, and she sells them to kids to read, and but they use football as the content and so forth. So she's still involved, and but no, my cousin Susie, she was the first female GM in the NFL. Look it up, Susie Toes. When we get off, you'll see those.
I will. I love even more now. This is great.
Yeah, but so when I grew up, it was like Wilma Montgomery, Howard Carmichael, Montgomery, I mean, that was, Dempsey was still in there, Roman Gabriel, I'm Bill Berge. I'm going through all the old names. That's when I grew up, but my Uncle Leonard, man, he was the best. He's passed now, but anyway, we miss him. May he rest in peace. And he was classic. And they did a good job on Invincible, what they did, with Vince, the movie that they did. They portrayed him. It looked just like him. I mean, his mannerisms and everything. So thank you for the Invincible for doing a good job on my Uncle Leonard.
That's great.
So, well, anyway, don't let me cut in, but thanks for the Eagle plug there, and go Eagles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that segues pretty well overall and, where I came from. So, my family and I, we immigrated from Italy when I was 5 years old, and we actually moved over to Chester County, Pennsylvania, where I was raised. So, right down Route 100 to a place called Coatesville from Pottstown.
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
Coatesville. No, well,
that's it. So I grew up in the mid '80s, so I didn't necessarily understand enough right then and there in regards to the Eagles at that time. But again, I grew up a Randall Cunningham fan, and coming down to a McNabb and all of those, all the way to this day. Even being now currently in the past 2 years down in Florida in the Orlando area. We definitely enjoyed that time coming over. I had a younger brother that immigrated with me, my two parents. We lived, in that area, and then as well as majority of my family on my father's side immigrated from Jordan. So I'm half Jordanian as well, Middle Eastern. So my influence growing up in that Chester County area was mostly, Middle Eastern background, but we spoke Italian in the house. I'm trilingual, and my family right now, I have three young kids, 11, 9, and 7, and my wife is Hispanic. So my kids are the United Nation all put together, and we speak a lot of languages in our families.
that's
So
awesome. I did
yeah,
not know that, you had, all the cultural gigs around the world, coming your way. What did your parents do? What did your dad do in Coatesville?
yeah. Well, they mostly were in hospitality, so they worked in restaurants. Worked. My mother was a stay-at-home um, parent, and my father worked multiple jobs. It was humble beginnings coming over, and you definitely have to prove yourself. Coatesville was known as being a steel town, so he did work over at the Lucan Steel, the steel mill that was over there for a while. And then throughout, there were different hotels and different restaurants that he either owned or he would work at overall in that particular area. So, to this day, they're hardworking individuals and still live in the same neighborhood home there. My two younger brothers live in Westchester, which is 20,
Hmm.
30 minutes
Hmm.
from where you grew up at that time. And,
Took my driver's license test when I was 16 in Westchester. I failed
I
it.
did as well. Yes.
I failed the first one in Limerick, all 422. I got
Yes.
flustered, and then I took it the week later in this little podunk, like school parking lot in Westchester, and I got
Yes.
my license. Oh,
That was a true experience to try to parallel park. That was pretty good.
yeah, yeah. I think I hit the curb or whatever the first time, and in Limerick in the state, I was taking it in my grandmother's caddy, and then my mom took me in the Cordoba, and the guy was cool, and it was just a little podunk little thing, and boom boom, it was done, but it yeah, I remember it. The other thing I was going to tell you, my family's in steel too. My family, one of we our steel company has been in business since 1888, still in business today. But
Wow.
downtown Pottstown, along the Schuylkill River, is where all the steel mills were.
Mhm.
Bethlehem Steel was right next to us.
Yeah.
Our company was called Mayor Pollock Steel. They were green and yellow trucks. So when you would go down like off the Schuylkill towards the airport, you would go down Automotive Row, and there'd be a light, and you bang a right to go over the bridge. There used to be a car shredding place there. Now I think they sold it, and they built something there. But we were into scrap metal and demolition. So when I turned 16 and I took my test in Westchester, I got thrown into the scrap yard. All the grandsons had to work for the steel company. And now my cousins are running the company, fourth, fifth generations later. But it's been in business since 1888, a long time.
Wow.
So
Nice.
we took all of we were into recycling and sustainability before
Mhm.
sustainability was even a word. So I had these old 8 millimeter films of after World War II and Vietnam or what, but World War II, these old videos, 8 millimeter, of us cutting up all of these, Jeeps and tanks and all this stuff into steel, and then chopping it up and, recycling it. Another man's trash is another man's treasure. That's how it was brought up. So, and I used to go down and play in the overhead cranes, and I shoveled asbestos off I-95. I laid railroad tracks. I mean, I did everything. And but my cousins are running it. I'm not there, but I have a construction background. So that's funny that your dad Coatesville Steel. I'm like laughing because I know exactly where that is, you know?
Yeah, and it's again, it was a great environment, great growing up in those areas. It's a little bit different in this day, and you try to share those same sentiments with the younger generation and growing up, and you know, everything needs to be, video games and everything else. We were outside, so it was great. Everything being done at that time, it was a great neighborhood, and it just progresses a little bit more now, and how much the population has grown in that area, and
You know what
and
the
to
you know
that
what
point.
you know what the amazing thing is my grandmother passed away, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. I hadn't been home
Mhm.
in a while. So I flew into Allentown, drove down Route 100 to Pottstown, went to the funeral, and then I was flying out of Philly. So I took the 422 bypass. So they had the Limerick, nuclear
Yes.
power plant, because we could see that from our house. And anyway, from there to King of Prussia, it was just rolling. When they finished the bypass, it was just rolling fields of corn, and you know nothing was built. It was just barren. I drove through there, and the pharmaceutical companies and all the
Oh,
build up. I mean, Valley Forge. I mean, King of Prussia. They always had stuff going on, and they still do. They're still building there. So, but you would go between King of Prussia and Potsdam. It was all just rolling hills and fields. Now the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, it's urban sprawl at its best. So now it's like Pottstown's almost like a suburb of Philadelphia. I mean, you could call it that, and you can go all the way go to Reading. Everything's got built up.
it's true.
And so I was blown away. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how, I mean, every exit was barren. There was nothing there. Now it's like a real place. So, but downtown Pottstown hasn't changed. I drove through downtown Pottstown. I went and looked at my old house. It looks tiny. Used to be huge. I thought it's a tiny little house, and my grandparents, but that hasn't changed, but Little Italy's still down there on High Street,
Yep.
and but anyway, that's my story about the urban. It was a really cool place. You know what? Did you ever go to Zern's Farmers Market?
Uh,
You know what that was? Zern's Farmers Market.
no.
Friday nights, the thing to do was to go to this place called Zern's Farm Market, and it was like a place where everybody would hang. You could find anything there, but it was more of a place just to go and be seen. Anyway, the kids inherited the property. It had been there forever. Anyway, they're turning. They sold the property, and they closed the thing down. Someone sent me a clipping out of the Pottstown Mercury, which is the local paper there, and they said Zern's Farmers Market, good run, no longer. It's just it was definitely another destination point, but it's not there anymore. The developer put condos up or whatever, but
Right.
it was a really cool place. It was sad to hear. It was like Lenny's Hot Dogs down in Lang City not being in front of Lucy's, or any of that kind of stuff. So or JFK, see you later. Saw a
Exactly.
lot of concerts there at the Spectrum. So it yeah, but going home, it's really cool, going back to see where you lived and all that. So that's really cool that your parents at Coatesville. That was right down the road. So
Yeah, it was right there. I mean, I grew up there and then went up to Happy Valley for my undergrad. So graduated with my undergrad in hotel, restaurant, institutional management. So never was in the construction industry in my early years, but again, through the management of the hospitality, I worked right after my undergrad. I worked for a luxury market hotel vendor, and pretty much developed. They only had about 40, 50 locations worldwide, but it was the best of the best. So ended up getting a position in management over in the Philadelphia location, where again had great opportunities in managing many different departments, different divisions, ultimately ending up as VP of rooms division, and managing some of their renovations, assisting with those multi-million-dollar lobby renovations, all those opportunities that were there on top of the operation side of things. So those opportunities definitely lend itself a great exposure in the construction industry. And at that time, I lived in Philadelphia. It was great opportunity for me being right in the city. I was in South Philadelphia, so could walk right to the stadiums. I actually walked to the vet, saw the demolition of the stadium when it happened. So it was a great opportunity to definitely be down there, get a little bit more of the feel of what Philadelphia is all about. Growing up in the suburb, it was a little bit different. We didn't travel too much into the city, but living there at that time, gave a great opportunity just to really get the essence of what Philly was all about, walking through all the different sporting events and, the local restaurants. It was a good time. So I was there for 6 or 7 years with the house that I had there, and, great opportunity being in the Philadelphia area. And then eventually, during that time, as I was transitioning, the hotel industry management was a grind. It was a lot of hours. I missed a lot of holidays. Yeah, it was very tough. 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And it ended up where I had to make a decision, in my life. And I took that decision to be going back to school and went back to get my graduate MBA as well as a master's in project management. I love the aspect of project managing large initial projects, how, the budgeting, the scheduling, all of those things. And it lent itself to an opportunity to, go a different route in my life and career path. So, with that, left the hotel industry, actually started a real estate investment company and tried to flip houses and do that actually in the Reading market in Berks County. Did that for about 2 years. Bad timing during the housing bubble timeframe. And I was like, I think I need to make some money if I really want to eat. And it ended up going into some interviews in project management where I thought that was going to be a great start, and interview with a company named Icon. This was 2007. Icon specialized in large programmatic initiatives where they did national rollouts in signage, facilities maintenance, different construction aspects that worked with construction companies, but not necessarily immersed themselves in the whole construction phase. Started there as a project manager, working at the ranks. And, to this day, it's 10 years later, I was in operations as the VP of program management, managing multiple teams in different offices. And now for the past 6 years, I've been in sales, just developing the program. So for the past 16 years, Icon progressed through. And then, as you said, mergers and acquisitions. We actually were acquired by MC Group out of Mentor, Ohio, and in 2019. And then we went to market as Stratus, which in 2020. And since then, we acquired another company, MLE, which dealt with logistics, interior branding, national on the construction side in 2021. And then recently, we just acquired another company in Texas, Comet Signs, in 2022.
No, I saw that press release. Yeah.
Right. So that added, again, another component. And now we're 1,100 people strong, and just keep growing with all our different product services that we provide through signage, refresh, remodel services, our energy division, and then facility maintenance as another option that we can provide, that turnkey option that you stated as a company. So, we pride ourselves of being a large national brand implementation company, and it really worked well in growing the company and all the different entities that came together. And then, from my background, coming together in the sales position that I am now. So, through these years, it's been great just learning through different options. I lived in New York City as well, and that was a transition that happened right after I lived in Philadelphia. I went up for a customer through Icon and managed an entire national rollout where, again, construction, signage, all of those things came into play for the retail banking side of things, where the initiative was for hundreds of sites growing in. It was a global brand. And then they built out throughout the Northeast, Florida, and then on the West Coast as well. So I got the appetite to manage a lot of projects out there, working with some larger entities in the construction industry, especially in the New York market, where I finally got a feel of the union environment.
I was just gonna say, if you can build in New York, you can build anywhere. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like Philly. New York is just, you know, it's the epicenter of the financial industry. But if you can build in New York, you can build anywhere, in
right.
my
And,
opinion.
I would agree. And you know, Philadelphia has a great union environment as well, but nothing like New York City.
No.
You know, you learned how to definitely work with the multiple unions, the multiple trades, great individuals and great teams that have lots of experience. And then at the same time, work with all different, I would say, different environments, from overnight work, because again, being as busy as it was in such an urban sprawl, it lent itself to the opportunities to really challenge yourself on how to manage these large commercial construction programs. You know, dealing with different areas in the boroughs, you know, from the Bronx and some of the lower income areas where you had to manage these projects after hours, at night, you know, in environments that might have not been as great as some of the areas that a lot of people work out of, these cookie cutter box stores. You know, we had to convert a lot of different programs in healthcare where they were predominant in some of those areas. You know, we're working in different retail banking environments where you really had to schedule and make certain those schedules worked within that different environment that you were dealing with. So
Yeah, our family, Mayor Pollock Steel, we built the toll booth area at the Triborough Bridge in
there
New
you go.
York.
That's
That was
great.
that was like, I think, our one claim to fame of, being, even though we're a Philly company, but we did the whole toll booth area. And that was a little, that's what I was probably still in diapers when that happened. But you know, my grandfather and his brother, they were doing that stuff, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we did the toll booths on the Triborough. Yeah, just we're a little dinky little steel company in Pottstown, but we got it. And then
You'd be surprised how much representation came out of southeastern PA, up in
yeah,
the
or in
New York State,
Jersey, I
New
mean,
Jersey.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
You always have to pass Trenton, right?
yeah.
In the
You got to go
signs through
I 295.
Trenton.
You got to hit it, man. You got to go through it. So it is what it is. Um,
That's it.
So let's talk about the last 3 years. March 2020, everything gets shut down. Here we are, coming in to Q2 2023, 3 years later. What lessons? I mean, with the company, going through all the mergers and the new name and all this. I mean, what lessons did you guys learn, and that our audience out there, commercial construction coffee talk, would relate to? Because I know everybody said it was great. Even though it was a bad time, people learned about their business. People learned that they could work at home. They had more to do to their life. They were, they were more productive. All of these things are all pluses, even though it was not the greatest of time to be doing things. And now here we are at we're out of the tunnel, and it's still kind of evident. But what lessons did you learn? Obviously with your background, but the company as a whole.
Right. I think, on at least on a personal level, and I'll start with that. I mean, we were able to move in 2021, coming down to Florida, just to give a little bit of a different experience for the kids as they were growing up. But it still lent itself within the industry to work remotely, right? So everybody feels the same way. You were given the opportunity to do Zoom calls, be able to still be productive, be able to focus on your customers. And some of the practical things that we looked at as a company was making sure that we really could assist our customers as best as possible with everything that they're dealing with. So if it was raw material increases, if it was scheduling issues, if it was trying to find the right vendors to deal with, the fun stuff that we dealt with during that time frame, and scheduling, and trying to make certain that we're on schedule, and budgets, all of those things, to make certain that companies, especially ones that were essential, was still able to operate properly during that time. So we were classified as an essential company, as many were at that time. And we were able to provide those solutions. So during that time frame, especially early on, it was having more of those intimate conversations with customers and understanding where are their pain points right now. How can we help? We have a large labor force. I definitely thank all our field managers and superintendents that Stratus has as W-2 employees that were out there helping out during that time on the job force, and at the sites to manage a lot of these that, wouldn't have happened if we weren't able to have the resources to schedule those appropriately and still meet those schedules that some companies, yes, did people scale back? They did, but we still moved forward in America to make certain that we were able to achieve what we needed to do for that year. So there were great brands that came out of this very strong. And, those are the ones that we really had great conversations to see how we could grow with them during this time and build that relationship. So when we all came out of it, we were stronger together. And you really see where that relationship was grown to be a solid partner overall. So I think those 3 years we were able to definitely be more intimate with our customers, understand a little bit more of the pain points, and be a problem resolution type of company, and think out the box. We were able to provide a lot of services, but ultimately, what else could we do? Because every week, everybody came together to figure out, oh, this customer needs this assistance. This customer needs to figure out how we're going to put special barriers up, or special stickers, or special new construction in their facilities to work through to close out the QSR area or the dining area, right? And working through drive-throughs and digital implementation. All of those things are a lot of the conversations we had week in and week out with a lot of our customers, and try to provide those solutions.
Yeah, it's amazing of the amount of people that I've, not even on the podcast, but just in general, just have spoken to that, the people that turn on a dime, and, construction people had still to get on planes. They all were, kept on going. It didn't stop. It depended on what state you were in, determining
Exactly.
your how well your project was going to go, depending if it was inside or outside. And but for the most part, construction people, they all had to just get on the planes and keep going. I mean, and the ones that, learned to be hybrid, or, some had their people still coming into the offices. It really depended on what state you were in. And but looking back over those 3 years, the biggest thing I hear right now is, oh man, I could have had a better year last year, but I didn't have the PMs or the supers to do it. And I had to turn business away because I didn't want to bite off more than I chewed. Because in retail, if you don't deliver on time, everything's backed up from the opening of the store, the circulars, and you don't want to get that on you, and when you hear that, you're like, oh my God, you're turning business away. But everybody was really freaking busy, and
Right.
if you didn't have this phone during the, a cell phone, you weren't making contact with people, because people were not picking up emails. They were like, oh yeah, I'm going to tell this guy that 30 projects are put on hold, or we're going to a 180-day payment schedule, or whatever it might be, all the bad news that you want to hear, and if you didn't have a cell phone or a personal Gmail account or whatever, it was very tough to, that was the thing with me. Half my circulation was either furloughed or the offices were shut down. So I was fighting with my printer going, look, I don't even want to mail these things. They're just going to get thrown in the trash,
Exactly.
So we went digital. I had no choice. I was like, the month of April of 2020, I spent a lot of sleepless night. We had our summit. I put that summit issue out, and I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And my editor, my artist, like, well, let's go digital, and we had a digital magazine forever. So it was there. I just kind of treated it as a stepchild, but I had plenty of content. So the scariest thing was the first time that we didn't publish an issue. August of 2020 was just saying that we were going basically digital was scary. Then in August of 2021, we had White Castle and their VP of construction, the biggest facility they'd ever built. And that was the last issue that we printed. And knowing that I always like having it in my hand, but saying that you're not going to print it anymore and you're just going to go digital. And that was like a very, very, very scary moment, of as an owner,
Right.
because you're still employing people, and you want to make sure you're making the right decision. But then again, I was looking at my kid. He doesn't even know what a magazine is. He's looking at it on his phone. He's on his tablet. He doesn't know what it is. And I talked to a couple of advertisers. Do you need that magazine? They're like, oh no, I got 75. Look, I can give you the link. You do so much more. Me sending that thing to you. So
Yeah.
but it's listen, I went through the same thing. I was listening to people, and I was going through the same thing. Everybody was. But now that we've all made it through, shoot, I started my company in 2001, right after 9/11, the internet bubble. I went through the crash of the mortgage guys. Just like you said, you were flipping homes when the economy fell off the cliff, and the housing market was like, yuck, and then there were a couple other things that went through there the last couple of years. And now you had this, and this thing was the only difference between 9/11 and 08 and this was that here, everything was shut down,
Right.
but people are still flying. People are still eating out of restaurants and all this other stuff. So this thing was like, oh, it's only enough for a couple of weeks. Here it is 3 years later, and we're still freaking talking about it, and, but I learned a lot about my business. I mean, I just did. Even me myself, I learned how to be digital. I learned about this, just stuff. And, anybody that's out there that's listening to us, if you know what I'm talking about. So if you're still standing today, give yourself a pat on the back, because it wasn't easy, mentally, physically, just, making that. I don't like to use the word pivot because everybody used it, but the bottom line is that you're still standing today, and, you got the tax man coming on Tuesday, where's the money? So, if you're writing a check, congratulations. That means you made money, so, and, so that what a great story.
Yeah.
Jordanian, Italian, you moved to Chester, Coatesville, you did some stuff in New York. And I'm trying to get all the good accents here, and
It's pretty close. That's good.
yeah. I laugh. I've lost my twang. People are like, hey, where are you from? And I'm like, you're not from New York, you're not from Boston, I'm from Philly. I'm not from Jersey either. I'm from Philly.
Yeah.
So I've lost my twang since '92, since I've been down here. So, listen, if you wanted to leave one positive thought or phrase to leave with our listeners out there, what would it be?
I think overall, everybody during this time frame and what you talked about and what we just talked about in the past 3 years, I think the endurance that everybody had to go through to make yourself even better to this day, to even just listen to what we're doing. Because again, I applaud everybody that has a business in the commercial construction industry. It takes a lot of endurance, and it takes a lot of individuals that had the patience to really understand who they were during this and change. So, I think every day we wake up, and, I'm a very faith-based man, and I truly believe, everything happens for a reason, and, the new door will open when something else closes. And at that time, you want to grasp it and conquer your world, that you're dealing with. So I'll leave that to everybody, that definitely conquer your world and everything that you do. Wake up with a positive attitude. And regardless of the situation that we go through each and every day or throughout the world, if we're all dealing with it, there's always something positive that you can leave for that day, whoever you touch base with or whoever you speak with, that could hopefully make their day a lot better as well.
Listen, positive mindset is, I took this digital boot camp for 12 weeks, and that was the one thing that they drove home. Don't surround yourself with negative people. Get rid of them. They're just cancer. I hate to say it like that, but you got to get rid of them. Anybody that's negative, poo-pooers, doggy downers, whatever, get rid of them. They're just taking energy from you. Surround yourself with people that want to have fun, that want to produce, they want to earn, just positive people. And you'd be amazed at how much more that you're going to get done. And you won't have the headache. And you can go to bed and you can look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I did a great job. You know what? You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but at least you can look yourself in the face. And then you can wake up the next day and start your day, and maybe with a little prayer, whatever it might be. And we're all in construction. We all get up early, so and it's just the nature of the beast. So you might as well start your day on a positive note and get as much as done. Like I'm doing this routine 5 to 8. I get up at 5. I get all my important stuff done while it's nice and quiet. I do a little, I'm reading the Bible. I do a little reading, get rid of all my important stuff. And then I spend my day, and then I got to do my digital stuff. And right now I'm taking a ChatGPT video class. I'm learning how to
Great.
do clipping and cloning of voices and all this cool stuff that you're going to see on my magazine, my website, that I'm going to implement. I'm going to blow all you guys away. If you think you're going to laugh at me on my podcast, wait until you see what I start doing. You are going to freak out when you see what's coming down the pike with my magazine and stuff. So, and I got my first, I got to meet a client tonight, but I got my class. I got to do my homework because I got live Q&A on Thursdays. So, but it's been an amazing thing. And here, I'm an old dog. I'm going to turn 60. You can teach old dogs new tricks. Believe it or not, I never thought you could. So endurance, I love it. If someone wanted to get in touch with you and bounce some questions off you, or if find out more about Stratus and what you offer there, how would they reach out to you?
Certainly. You can always visit our website, www.stratusunlimited.com, or you can reach out to me overall. My email, it's Fabio.Madanat, Madanat, @stratusunlimited.com.
There you go. So if you've got a project going on, roll out, whatever it might be, and you want to, bounce some questions off Fabio. He's down there in the Sunshine State in the, Central Florida in Orlando, and see what you can do. You never know. If you don't know, ask. Then you'll know where you stand. So, anyway, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'm at David C. at ccr-mag.com. And listen, we have our annual project profiles. We're going to post here over the next day or two. Thank you for everybody. We had like 60 some odd projects that we're featuring. So thank you to everybody that were submitted stuff. And listen, if you don't give us stuff to look at, I can't post it or I can't get it in the magazine. It's like buying the lottery. I know I hate you hear me saying this, but if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. So if you don't send me something, just like when Stratus, got merged with MC and they changed their name to Stratus, they sent me a press release. I posted it and I sent it to them, and then they shared it. So if you got stuff, send it to me. It might take me a couple days to get to you, but I answered everybody, and we never know where it might end up. Some of those projects in the profile are going to end up on covers down the road because I think they're really cool. Then they get that little picture in a paragraph didn't do that project justice. So we look at everything. So send it. It could be a charity event, it could be a personnel announcement, it could be a cool case study that you did or whatever. I look at everything. So we love getting content. We're a conduit of news. So send it to me. Don't prejudge it, and then let me take a look at it. So Fabio, pleasure speaking with a transplant down in Florida. I know there's plenty of Philly guys down there. So
that's it.
The question is it Jim's or Pat's where you wanted to eat?
You know what? I was neither. I take the local. I was more of a Jim's, and take it from there. Or there's plenty of local spots down in South Philly that you could go to.
I never was into the yellow cheese and to be honest with you, there's a place down in Atlantic City called White House Subs. It's right next to the bus station. Anyway, if lettuce, tomato, a little mayo, and I'm not in it, but the best cheesesteaks ever. And in Margate, New Jersey, just down the road on Atlantic Avenue, there's a place called Dino's. Those two had the best cheesesteaks, in my opinion, better than anything in Philly, But Jim's, Pat's, you won't go wrong either way. If you go there, you got to go there. It's a tourist attraction. You got to go down. South Street, it is what it is, So, well, Fabio, thank you so much for your time. And, I've got a gig in Orlando coming up, bringing our CCRP events coming back. I've got my first one coming up on May 10th. Then invites going out this week in New York. And I've got the Atlanta Braves and the Mets June 6th here in Atlanta. And then I've got Milwaukee. We're doing the Milwaukee Tools Tour. We've got Orlando. We're going to do the SoFi tour in the end of November. We got Centerville to finish up with. And then there's a couple other cities in there. I'm doing them all with the RCA. So, but the one coming up in May in New York, if you're out there and you're in New York, you would like to attend, it's at Chimenti's office location. They've got a cool rooftop. They're about 52nd Lexington in Manhattan. And That'll be I think it goes 3:30 to 5, a presentation. They're going to talk construction, and then they're going to go out on the rooftop. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, and we'll have some adult beverages and some food, and we'll take some pictures and video, and we'll put it in the magazine. So May 10th. We'll see you in New York, and if not, we'll see you. You know, the Mets and the Braves go at it on Tuesday, June 6th, and then make her. But I'm going to be near Orlando. I forget what the date is. You'll have to look in the magazine on the website. So anyway, Fabio, say goodbye from Orlando, down in the Sunshine State.
Have a good one, everyone.
And I'm going to say goodbye from Sugar Hill, just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier, about 25 miles north of downtown ATL. So with that said, everybody, have a great rest of the week, and enjoy the weather while it's still spring, because summer's coming and we know it's getting hot. You know, he's down in Florida. I know where he is. He's in Central Florida, man. So he's, you know, a little breeze, maybe either from the west or the East Coast, but it gets hot. Just like me. I'm in the center of Georgia, you know, but I'm by the lake. So I might, you know, I can, at least I get a little moisture from the lake. So, but listen, if you're out there on a construction site, be safe. Make sure you drink lots of water and stay hydrated. And with that said, Fabio, I look forward to seeing you in person. And for all you out there, I look forward to seeing you at some of our receptions that are coming up. We're going back out on the road face to face. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Fabio, man, known you a long time, man. You're the best. All right. And
well.
all you out there, we will see you next time. Thanks so much for signing in. Fabio, ciao, bud.
Ciao.